welcome to the SFP news desk on Rumble, extending out to some other locales as well as Podbean on the MP3 side. Thank you for your support of those on Podbean. They sometimes never see us; they only hear us, which is kind of nice for them. For the video, you're stuck. Well, happy Sunday night. I hope you've had a great Sunday. We had thought about broadcasting this afternoon, but we came in from church and we ate just a lot with some soup. Good soup day. And we just I watched the race, but we've got the sports show coming up Tuesday, and there was a lot of racing news, and so I really wanted to watch the Watkins Glen race. Got that in, really enjoyed that, and then we went back to church and got in and um, did a couple of errands before we got home and saw a bad wreck. Just kind of briefly, just really didn't even see it, but thankfully nobody killed. One of those race through the intersection, truck does a helicopter ride, parts flying everywhere, fluids flying everywhere. Wow. I mean, just the sun was shining down. I don't know who was at fault. It could have been either one of them because as I tried to think back through it, I really didn't see enough to know. So, but both trucks definitely, I believe. Well, the one for sure is totaled. The other one probably. That was a hard impact. That was one of those. It's the hardest I've seen in person. Like just the hardest I've ever seen. Guy was flying through an intersection. He may have had the right of way. I think he was going too fast, but anyway, they'll figure it out. Thank God nobody got killed. But happy Sunday, and thank you for your support of the Southern Fried Podcast. Don't forget, our Southern Fried coffees, and we are excited about that. In fact, we've got the cup tonight, and keep the Southern Fried in here. I've got the house blend. I've had several blends, but I've got the house blend. That's just our Shopify shop, and I just love the coffee. They're awesome. I know there's a lot of good coffees out there. Hey, I like 5.5. I like 1775. There's a lot that I like, and I can tell you that our coffee is right up there with the rest of them. There's QR codes you can get to order some in. Now we kept the shipping for the continental United States in the cost, and you can get some of those blends for as little as $18.50. A lot of them. This is the 12 ounce. Those are 19. Some of them, and then it goes up from there. But you don't get a shipping sticker shock, if I can get the words out. When you go to check out, it's already built in. So I like that. We try very hard here to do things the right way as far as making sure. I mean, we take smaller margins. We're not here to trying to gouge anybody. There are some things you can get on up in the coffees you can buy in bulk. It sounds like a lot, but when you're talking about a lot of coffee, but our store is like that. The margins are small, and we're thankful for those who have switched over to Patriot Mobile. And I'll be calling them in the morning. I'm switching a couple more phones over. Patriot Mobile, great company. Just love them. And I love their support of veterans. This latest thing that I know that they're a part of, getting phones to some of these vets that are in trouble, making sure they have phones and can call people, which is so important. I just love them. Our promo code is Cornbread. Cornbread, make the switch today. Hey, these folks, there are not many companies out there. There are some. Mammoth Nations like that, who we also promote. But Patriot Mobile, First Amendment supporter, Second Amendment supporter. They are pro-life. They do not. They're America first. They are not ashamed to share their faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. Like, it's the only business meeting I've ever been to in my life where we talked about Jesus and the Word of God. I'm telling you, I knew right then I wanted a long-term partnership with these folks. Based in Texas, their customer service is also based in the United States of America. I believe those are probably Texas folks, and you can understand them. They can understand you, and things get done. And they're very patient. What a great company! So just some of the things we have going on. Also, don't forget, and we're loading new things on it all the time, but our Cornbread Nation Radio, 24/7 internet radio station. Tomorrow will be a week. A little after 7 that we've went 1 week with the broadcast. And we've got shows up there. We've got songs up there. John Frady with Christ Skin Ministries, who was with us on the Hump Day View show last Wednesday, has given us permission. I've got one of his songs loaded up. I've got about 10 more. This guy spent 10 years in a South Carolina prison. He got his life turned around. He's now doing praise and worship and ministering to people, making a difference in their life. He's going to contact my son. And I can't say enough from the bottom of my heart. I have a son that's gotten in trouble, and he's on it and praying and reaching out. Love this guy, and he's given us permission to use his music. It's loaded up. You'll hear a few commercials up there. But all the shows, all the recent shows, we just cycle them in and out. In fact, I'm going to load up and take some out, flip around there. It's on 24/7, and we are extremely excited about that. We are getting up, and we're going to be getting up into our store. Some of the coffees we wanted to put our own labels on it just because of FDA rules. We wasn't quite able to do that, but you will be seeing some of these mugs, and there's all kinds of labels. We're going to put those up in to our store, and we've got some of them loaded already. So if somebody wanted to get a cup, which is reasonable in our store, it's threadless, it's very reasonable, and you can get mugs like that. There's all kinds of logos. We're always putting up new stuff. This is one of our newest ones. Bless your Southern Fried Heart. You know, you can take that a lot of different ways here in the South, but we say that about a Yankee. We love our Yankee friends. We say that about people that are anti-American. Well, bless your Southern Fried Heart. We're adding stuff all the time, but real quick, and then we'll get into news. Again, there's that Mammoth Nation. There's your QR code for that. Patriot Mobile Cornbread. We also, our first affiliate was Dubby. Use that promo code Southern Fried, and Podbean itself. There's the top one is for individuals. Become a podcaster. Hey, you know what? Have fun with it. You only live this life once. Somebody says, why do you podcast? Well, because I like it. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't do it. Sometimes we take a lot of abuse. We're fortunate. I think the good Lord keeps a lot of that away, but we've had it. We've had the haters. You know what? If you got to just throw it over your back, give it to the Lord and move on. There's a lot of haters. That's just the way it is. That's just life. They hate us because we're American. They hate us because we're conservative. They hate us because we love Jesus. They hate us because we're a color or we're old or we're whatever. I don't care. You know what? When you get older, the filters come off anyways. Just get out there and say something. You don't have to be the expert. And by the way, most people that consider themselves experts, they talk like idiots anyway. So podcasters tell us what's going on. They're not afraid to dive in and tell news. They don't have some editor up there or some program director screaming down their neck saying, you're not going to cover that. That's too controversial. Some podcasters don't care. They just do it. So I love that. And just tell it like it is. Let the chips fall where they may. Well, I know the president has just recently passed the 200-day mark. You have all these milestones for presidents. I love that. The 100-day mark, the 200-day mark. There'll be more of these that'll come along. And he's really had a great week. And hopefully this week we're in right now will be equally as strong. And I think he's building something really strong in that. I want to look back a little bit and just look back at not all of them. My gosh, we're going to probably choose some of these this week and next week and do them. I may talk about them during MAGA report this week. But just some of the major points. There's so much. So the White House, and it's not often that I go to the White House website. You go there, it's really just to look at all the lunacy that was going on. But now that we have a new president, you can go there, and they have a section on the 200-day mark. And this was posted 3 days ago at the White House. How nice to have that. It's called 200 Days of Winning. President Trump is keeping his promises. And there's quite a few here. There's a list of them. I didn't count them. That's probably 15 or 20 here. And that's just the 200 days as they approach that. They even went back and they talked a little bit about the first 100 days and what happened there. I just want to touch on a few of these tonight in the program and then kind of look forward into this week and next week because there's some major issues on the table that we need to get settled that'll be good for America. And that's what this is all about. I'm worried about the rest of the world right now. We've helped people all the time. We've went in massive debt helping the world. The world can just go float a boat. I don't care right now. We've got our friends. We don't owe anybody anything. We we don't got to feel guilty because we're looking at America first. And we have bent over and been done wrong, bent over, but we've been over backwards trying to help countries, and we put ourselves in a mess. And most of these countries have never given us a dime back. They've never given us a help. In fact, many of the countries that we help, not our allies, but many of the countries that we help, all they do is preach death to America. I say not another dime goes to somebody like that. You know what? I mean, who would do that for their home? Who would send money to their neighbor that's out there preaching death to the Cordells like me or whatever? You say, well, you can just take care of yourself. You're my enemy. But we do that. That's just the nature of America, and we think of the human factor. And I get that the old, the young, and we're trying to help them. But sadly, most of that money gets stolen anyway, and the dictators and terrorists, they use it for to buy real estate around the world, fatten their bank account, and put a lot of guards around them because they know their country is a crap hole and it's dangerous. So it doesn't get to the people. There's not in this. I want to divert just for a second. This whole UN crap about helping these people over there. UN, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. If you can't fix the problem in these last 60 years or so, well, we're talking about the Middle East. If you can't fix the problem with a bunch of people living in camps, and you're a part of the problem, and you are, and we know you are. All these people, they're born. They went so long now. Nobody remembers before the camps. I mean, they're all been. Probably most of them that were there in the beginning were dead, and it's all these kids. They've been raised in these camps, and these camps over there, and there's several of them. There are people without a country. They keep saying, well, when Palestine becomes a country, you'll have a country. Well, until that day, get their information. Let's put them somewhere where they're not living in a terror camp. They have no rights. They have no voting rights. They don't belong to any country. They're not a citizen of anything. They're being taken care of by tax dollars, your tax dollars, and other countries that have anteed up. But we have spent millions and millions of dollars in these funds to keep these camps up. And all they do is keep people hemmed in a cage, and they produce terrorist after terrorist, which is the end result they want. They want terrorists to be there. Well, I don't like how ugly it is right now in the Middle East, and I don't know what's going to happen. Israel's went down their list today. It's already Monday over there of what they're going to do, their agenda. It's hot. It's a hot potato. It's a hot potato in Israeli politics. It's a hot potato in the Middle East, and it's a hot potato for the United States of America. Because stated by as Bibi Netanyahu, we're going to take out the terrorists, eradicate Hamas. Okay, well that's going to be bloodbath number one. I'm not saying they can't do it, but a lot of people are going to die. Then they're going to put up an independent entity there that is neither Jewish or Arab or whatever the heck. They're not. They're going to rebuild and place this under this entity. Well, I'd just be interested to see how that's going to work, and I hope we're not involved in that at all. And on and on you go with that. I mean, and it's not going to be easy, and the terrorists are certainly not going to lay down their weapons. Hamas is not. Oh well, great plan, Bibi. We're just going to lay down our weapons. No, it's not going to happen. So it's going to be a bloodbath as they go into further into Gaza. It's going to be a bloodbath, and so on both sides, and people we're going to continue to see problems. So this is one of the things as we go forward for the 200 days that the president has to consider and how involved he is, because he is running a shield for him. Bibi has the support of the president. He has saw those videos, according to sources, of those prisoners digging their own graves, greatly impacted him, and he pretty much gave the go for Israel to do what they got to do. But it's going to get hot. It's going to heat up. But right now, the president is running a screen for Israel to finish the job, and so that's going to be on the table as you go forward. Obviously, going to we'll talk here in a few minutes about Ukraine, Russia, and we'll get to that. But let's look at some of the things they listed here as they talk about the 200 days, and certainly someone could look at this and they might pick it apart. You might say, well, I agree with some of this, I don't agree with all of it, or I do agree with all of it. But this is what they put. The promise, the first one they mentioned, was large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. That was first mentioned, I think, 10/12/24, that he said he would do that, according to their numbers, their dates. And so the promise kept is the green check mark, which they have on their on the website of the White House, and with and basically says that they signed the big beautiful bill into law, delivering the largest tax cut in history, and then those things about tips, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security, along with the unprecedented tax relief for small business, farmers, workers, and families. So a lot of people are talking about it. In fact, at my company, they have sent out information about that. What does it mean? What does it mean for you? What level? What does it mean on what level you are as far as your yearly, usually what you make, and what does that mean when we're talking about that? So we've had some guidance on that for people that are now into this and trying to figure out, as you get into the second part of the year, and obviously we'll be looking towards tax time. So they'll, but that's one of the promises that they talk about in these 200 days. The next one was close the border. We will close the border. We will stop the invasion of illegals into our country, also made on 10/12/24. Promises kept, or promise kept. The U.S. reached a new monthly immigration low for illegal crossings at the southern border. I believe that was an all-time record for June. For June, they mentioned that it was an all-time record low for crossings, including multiple months in a row with zero illegal immigrants released into the country's interior. Border wall construction has resumed, with the new border barrier projects underway in El Paso and the Rio Grande Valley. So there's a lot of things that they're doing within the waterways, within the border, and where these people are at and where they're being placed at and where they're being held for trials or their case to be heard or whatever. So this is way at the top of the list. The 200 days, this is way at the top of the list. And it has been one of the most focal points of the administration. We can tell because the left has went actually berserk over it and has been fighting left and right against it. So it has definitely made an impact because it's on their radar. That means they hate it and they're fighting against it. But he has thus far. There's a lot of work to be done. He's navigating a lot of things. The game plan for the left to stop the president is much like the first, and hopefully these people are going to go to jail. Hopefully the people it'll be investigated. Bob Barr now, Bill Barr, whatever Bill Barr. Anyway, working with Fonnie Willis and others, and they've got the receipts on this, and so hopefully these people are going to be in a lot of trouble for what they did with Russia, and all that. But what they've done is they've definitely used the lawfare to file as many lawsuits as they can. So some of your wealthy of the left, that's all they do is they front the money up to file the lawsuits, to just sue the heck out of them. And an amazing 180 lawsuits are being worked around the country or being put in process against the president of the United States. Think about that. Can you imagine getting one letter in the mail that you're being sued or you're being challenged in court or something? Can you imagine 180 cases going on at one time? This is how the left works. Just this week, that wonderful, and I say that facetiously, that wonderful character known as James Carville, he goes all the way back to the Clinton days, and he's I'm going to reserve my judgment here. Lawyers are standing by. I don't want to say too much, but this guy, just look at him and you look at his face and his eyes, and you'll see what I see. But anyway, he come out this week, and he's been blasting the Democrats on their failures. But what he did is this very week, just towards the end of the week, he brought up that old story that Biden talked about, which Biden didn't come up with by himself anyway. That was brought up by people behind him. Was to pack the court and make more U.S. cities, U.S. states. U.S. states. They've been wanting to make the District of Columbia a state. They know that'll be a blue state, and there are other pockets, things that they want to do around the country, and pack the court so that to ensure that the conservatives never ever win again. This is how they work. This is what they do. They try to bypass the will of the people, and they look for, and not only look for loopholes, they look for things that are illegal, and that's how they work, and that's how they roll. And I think our president's pretty cagey. He's pretty discerning. He's got a lot of smart people working for him. But you know what? If you're going to fight with these people, you're going to have to get down the mud with them. I mean, they don't play by the same rules. So if it gets ugly, if the president, that's what they do. The press is ready to jump on him when he says something, and they'll say, "Oh, I can't believe he would say something like that." They have no problem with what the left has had to say, and when they're antagonizing people, to go on the offensive and to bring the battle to the streets is what they said, and against conservatives, to go into the suburbs, to go in those places to tear down the strongholds of rural areas. Long time ago, I mean, back when Obama was president, he did something, and I don't ever hear it talked about too much. But he was very upset with these neighborhood flips that go on. It's a bad neighborhood. There's drug houses, houses of prostitution, gang houses, you name that. People come in, they start buying the property up for the cheap because nobody wants to live there. And they build houses that are really nice. And they change the demographics of that neighborhood because, some people can't afford it. Well, he hated that. So he worked very hard to try to get that changed. So one of the things that he did was he said, we got to take the cities to the rural areas. What I mean by that? Well, there's special government money and helps and stuff there. And it's not all Section 8 housing. There's different types of it. What they did is they came out into what would be considered rural areas, and they built these apartment complexes, which are, they say it's not right to use the word low, people that don't make a lot of money, but it is a fixed rate. It is a fixed rate. I know some people that live in some of these. There was one built in an area not far from me, within 6 minutes of where I live, and what has really started changing a whole. It's just over a state line. It's out in the country somewhat. There's a school there, but people fought against it, and it led to the defeat of a county commissioner who was, well, just say that some things happened that shouldn't have happened, and they almost got sued. So they ended up doing it when the people didn't want to do it. They said we have to offer it now. And he made some supposed mistakes, which then put them in a legal, in between a legal, kind of a hot point where they were going to be sued or let him come in. Well, they let him come in, and they voted him out, but the damage was done. And the road they put it on, there's nobody likes it because it's a 2-lane road. A lot of wrecks there already. It leads into a highway. There's a school right there, so they moved several hundred people into that. And this was under the Obama administration. This was some things they started to do to flip these neighborhoods, these areas where that were considered pretty conservative. Because if you look at a map of the United States, and you do any kind of you can go county by county. You can break those counties down, go district by district, and you look at where any election. It's all available online, and you go in there and you look at who voted for who, and you start figuring your blue areas out. Well, obviously cities are very blue, but when you get into the suburbs and even on out into rural areas, even in some places like California, Oregon, Washington State, places that we consider very liberal, it's just the cities mainly. Well, he wanted to break up those areas. He wanted to move the blue into those areas and change the voting demographic. It's always about that. These people do not care about the common man. It's a joke. It's always about holding on to power and manipulating the rules or whatever they can do to try to stop, these advancements. I mean, now it's all about redrawing the redistricting, redrawing the lines. I think Alabama got told they can't do anything until I don't know, 2035 or something, some crapola. There's a big debate right now, obviously in Texas, where they redistrict. And both sides do this. They redraw the lines. They try to make it the best they can and it's supposed to be able to be maneuvered as population growth changes. As populations change, then you should have a somewhat representation. But let's be truthful here. Our government is never going to give the proper representation. If you go what the Constitution says, We should have way more representation in Washington than what we have. So they don't even follow that rule because for every 30,000 people, you're supposed to have a representative. Well, they don't do that, and they haven't done that. So anyway, I digress. But in looking to the midterms, which is the next thing I want to be looking at, beginning this week and into next week, and really all the way up to the midterms, is looking at these midterms and looking at these here in Georgia, Florida, Alabama. All the governors are going to change. There's some senatorial seats that are up. There's a huge one in Texas. We had the candidate that was going to run on that one. We've had other Ken Paxton is in the news right now. Supposedly doing good things, but he got in trouble for doing a supposed mortgage fraud with his wife. But that's a hot ticket. John Thune Paxton's going to run for it. Looks like, but all these other ones, including the candidate we had on our show, and just was recently on Killer Carr's show. Be praying for him, and we're going to get him back on too towards the end of the year. But there's a lot of hot seats, and Congress. It's so narrow in both houses. It's so narrow, and so the midterms is going to be critical to how effective the president can be for the next 2 years. And if we drop seats, and they'll just put as big a wall up as they can, and they'll stop the president from doing most things except by executive order. Which today or this week he made some executive orders. He did some things. Also, we're going to talk about in a few minutes. He brought a peace agreement, and he's looking to do more this week. But going back to that, this was one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing, that they said you got to do, Mr. President. We're electing you to get a control of the border and do something about all these illegals, the criminal actions, and all that. And he's been working on that. So I would give him a check mark on those too. I think he did definitely address those and continues to address those. Another one, along with that, he said that uh, about the border, he says, we got all these bad deals. We changed a lot of them, but still plenty of them out there, a lot of unfair deals. And in this one, he's going back to the tariffs. He says if China or any other country makes us pay a tariff, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff. That was but way back in March of 24. Well, that's the battle right now. And he just recently threw the extra tariff on India, who's buying the fuel from Russia. And, so that's putting a crimp on them. And along with that, this was the executive action. One of them was if you're in building semiconductors and you're doing that from outside the country, basically, I think it's a 100% tariff. So he says you got to be building a place here, building some of them here. You got to be doing that work here, or you're going to get hit with this 100% tariff. Well, that's going to really rock the world because of the big money that is involved with these semiconductors. And hence, the best ones, and we're starting to build some of them here, but the best ones come from Taiwan. That's why China wants it back mainly. I forget all that cultural stuff. I mean, that's just smoke screen. They want what Taiwan has, and they don't like the relationship that what Taiwan has with the United States. But they have 5 major semiconductor plants, businesses there, and they make the best of the best of the best. And they're sharing information with us and technology, and we're starting to build some of those things here. And of course, China is very upset about that. This feeds the race for the next generation of computers, the speed of them, AI, absolutely, how fast we can see things happening, the data centers, all this stuff it all plays in together. And the president put an executive order on that. So he's trying to protect the American job. He's trying to protect, our national defense because a lot of these things are used in that. The ability to have those. And I get it. I get it. It's money. It's big money. And there's a lot of people involved in this. And a lot of people are going to make money, absolutely. But I do believe we should have that here. We can't have something that's so critical as those that if, let's just walk the scenario, if China invaded Taiwan, well, that could possibly throw us into war with China. We've got this, agreement with Taiwan. But let's say it didn't. Let's say we just made threats and, whatever. They now hold 5 of the best and biggest factories for making the best of the best semiconductors in the world. Don't think China wouldn't make that move. So instead of going to war, which the president doesn't want to do, he has started moving some of that to the United States. and there's a lot of money involved, and a lot of that's building those here, and then turn around and did the executive order. If you're not doing that business here, 100% tariff. So that's going to hurt their markets and American markets, and we should be able to build a stockpile of those here to be able to use in the systems that we use them for. Certainly for national defense, certainly for critical systems. We've got a lot of work to do on our power systems in America. The electrical grid is not great. There needs to be an upgrade there in a lot of areas of the electronics. We're susceptible to not only, of course, an EMP, but we're also susceptible with, if the sun goes crazy and really inundates the earth with a once in a generation storm. I mean, our power grid could go down. If the power grid goes down, there's a lot of people going to die. They know the numbers. They've already run that. If the grid is down a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, it would be down at different levels depending on where you're at. And you can go look at you can go look at the data that's been done on Texas. And because they almost lost their power grid, it's been just a few years ago. It was within seconds of shutting down. And they already had mass casualty event that they knew was going to happen. The people that require electricity, they were going to die. Food stuff were going to go bad. So there was going to be a hunger. There was going to be people not be able to get, stay cool or stay warm, or they couldn't keep their oxygen going for so long, and whatever. And that because they can't bring it right back up. It takes time, and our enemies know that. Or critical infrastructure like water, the clean water, which is even more important. And we have to have good, clean water in order to live. So these are the things I want the president working on. Absolutely. Protect America. Build up our defenses. If we've got to go up to Greenland and to protect our flank and put what we got to do there, then we're going to do it. We have to do that. Our very lives are on the line here. Our freedoms are on the line. We're dealing with madmen around the world that want to destroy us. Now is not the time for good men to be quiet. Now is the time for good men to stand up and speak strong. And if the people in the back of the crowd can't handle that, we just got to tell them to sit down and shut up. The pacifier crowd, the people that think they got to put pacifier in their mouths as adults, that crowd can just sit down and shut up. That's my opinion on it. We've got to do what we got to do. Being weak will not get the job done. We're going to have to have tough talk, and have tough measures are going to have to be taken to protect this country. And they talk about the global marketplace and all that. Well, I'm going to tell you what, that all works all fine and good to a point. But when the world wants to see America fall, that's the problem in it. There's nobody going to be looking out for us. I really wondered if we had a massive event happen here of some kind of natural disaster or whatever it was. I wonder how many nations on the earth would actually come and help America. I've always wondered that. I think there's a couple. Maybe. A couple. The others, they'd make excuses. They would send a token something, just to say they did something. A lot of them wouldn't send nothing. The cheering around the world would be on a massive scale. The world hates the United States of America, and I don't care. I don't care. Can't worry about what the world thinks. It's like, you know what? You're the leader of your home. You got to take care of your home. We're going to try to be neighborly and all that with our neighbors. But if our neighbors all want to see us dead, I don't care about their feelings. I don't care about making, any more deals with someone who's declared to destroy me or sworn that they would destroy me and my family and burn us down. At that point, I don't have any empathy or sympathy or whatever you want to say for those people, and they can just stick it. I don't care. It's about taking care of us, and if we can get us in shape and we can take care of us, then if there's something we can do to help, we'll do that. But we got to quit taking care of the world and allowing America to fall. And people beat this drum all the time. Yeah, I'm preaching to the choir. I know it. If you're listening, I know I'm preaching to the choir. It's bullcrap, but we got to do that. And there is a lot of bad deals we had, and he has changed a lot of those deals. Promise kept. President Trump reached 8 historic trade deals with major U.S. trading partners covering more than half of global GDP. And tariff revenues have totaled 150 plus billion, keeping his promise to liberate the country from decades of failed anti-American trade policy. And I love that because it is. We kept taking the hit on this. We kept taking the hit. Every time we turned around, the deals were bad. The deals were always bad, and we're supposed to celebrate that? No, we're America. Make more of it at home. Make it fair for Americans. If we're making money off that, great. In fact, we've made so much money. They're talking about giving some money to the middle class and down. As long as it's not creating more debt for us, I don't care if it's money come back in the country. Those are popular around election time, especially for president or midterms. It'd probably be nice. Some states have done that. Some states have sent money out to folks. Georgia has done some of this. They've definitely done that. So when you see these type of things happening, it makes you feel good about what's happening. Consumer confidence is a big thing. If people feel good, they'll spend money. If money's there, if they're making money, and we can feel a surge right now. People are starting to get a little more excited about things. I mean, there's a lot of danger ahead. There's still some bumps in the road. There's some huge freaking potholes in the road. But there is this consumer confidence that's beginning to happen. People are beginning to get excited about these wins that are happening. And we just got so used to America losing. Honestly, our leaders will tell us, America's the greatest nation on the face of the planet. But they treated us like we were the wicked stepchild and let everybody walk over us. You lose your pride and your patriotism. You lose your desire, to put forth that effort because you just feel like it's for naught and nothing good's happening. You get frustrated with that. It's good to have some wins. It's good to have a lot of wins, and it's good that we got somebody. And again, you don't have to like everything that the president's doing, but there's a heck of a lot here. And even people on the left are saying, well, my God, he's doing stuff that nobody's ever done. He's winning, and you better get busy. That's why Carville said what he said. He knows this bunch of losers on the left can't win against Trump. They can't win against conservatives when they're united like this. So why did Carville say that? Carville was always about, he was always about the guy that you brought in. That how do we win? How do we get the numbers? He basically stood up the white flag. When James Carville is saying pack the court and make more states that are be liberal, that's Carville throwing up the flag and saying we can't beat this guy. We can't beat this movement. That's actually a great victory for conservatives. But we got to watch these yokos, these fraudsters, because they'll actually do that. They'll listen to somebody. I mean, they're all about that. We've seen that. If anything, if we've been learned anything, it's that they will absolutely do whatever they got to do for broken pops or whatever, packing truckloads of ballots and pumping them into boxes or whatever to get the wins. And so we got to be on guard. But I think we got a president that's pretty savvy to that now. It's the second time around. He feels pretty good about it. So, but you got to watch them. I mean, my God, we all saw him drug into those courts. We all saw how they just tried to, belittle him and berate him and make it as hard for him as they possibly could. There wasn't one bit of mercy shown in any of those courts against Donald Trump. Not one. A former president. Think about that. Think about that. What hope do we have as American citizens when they'll drag an ex-president through and treat him the way they treated him in those courts? We have no hope. And we've got to get something done about that. And now they're filed 180 different lawsuits against the administration. This is their game plan, folks. They're telling you what they're going to do. They've already, stood before and announced these things. That's the difference between now. And that's the difference between now and what it was a long time ago. They used to try to hide it somewhat. Now they don't hide it. They tell you straight out what they're going to do. All you got to do is read their speeches, listen to them. As hard as it is, read their papers. If you would just listen to what they say, they will tell you exactly their game plan of what they're going to do. The media don't even care. They don't cover it because they're not going to. They don't care. But Americans sometimes have gotten so busy they don't even pay attention. They just stand up there behind a podium in Washington and they say exactly what they're going to do. I mean, it's pretty apparent. He also says, promise made, a vote for President Donald J. Trump is a vote for prosperity, 9/13/24. Promise kept. President Trump's America First economic policy has created a windfall in the stock market with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ reaching new record highs several times over the course of the second 100 days, from 100 to 200. While inflation has moderated, business is booming, the economy is growing, and egg prices fell 67% from their peak. Remember when everybody talked about the egg prices? I mean, everybody was talking about. I went to the gas station earlier to get gas. We needed some gas, and 259 we paid. Remember, we were, Democrats always want higher gas prices. You remember when that loon Al Gore was going to get elected? He came with that close to being elected, that close, and he's still out there working and trying to destroy your life every day. Al Gore and his organization is working to try to destroy the freedoms that you have. He's trying, that's the guy that's leading the charge to try to make your toilet where it won't flush. You can't wash as many clothes, and you can go down the list because he is preaching doom and gloom for the environment. And he goes all around the country, and they pay people to go and to be activists for them and set up. I've met some of these people to set up in your local libraries, find people that think like them. We'll call them the blue hair people. Every time they came in, they always had crazy hair. If you paint your hair blue, I don't care. But they came in and they would they have classes on them. They bring them all down to Miami. I don't know why Miami, but they bring them there. They used to. I don't know if they still do. And they would teach them these courses, and they would go back in their communities and start building ground support for all that. But that loan, remember way back? I mean, this is way back. I mean, we're talking way back when he was running for president. He wanted your gas to be $7 a gallon. $7 a gallon. He thought that was low. He said, we've got to protect the environment. We're going to use $7 a gallon. And this goes back over 20 years. I mean, it's $7 a gallon, and we're going to fund environmental projects with that money. That's what he wanted to do to you. That's what he wanted to do to all of us. I can imagine now, $7 now, he would probably want to be double that, to be honest. And for all those people, again, I used to hear this all the time when I would say something about gas prices. And, I remember hearing a bunch of people would say, well, over in such and such country, they're already paying well over $7, $8, $9, $10 a gallon. And I would say, what's your point? Well, people already having to pay that around the world. And I'd say, that's them. That's not us. And they'd say, well, they're doing it. I said, I don't care. If that's what their country does, that's what their country does. This is another point about being America first. I don't want to hear any more about the British healthcare system. I don't want to hear any more about the way that they do their education system or their tax system or whatever it is. I could absolutely care less about what the rest of the world does. I do care about what America does, and I want America to be America first. We're supposed to lead the way. We're supposed to tell the rest of the world, we don't care what you do. This is what we're going to do, and keep your nose, as we say here on the podcast, none your business. It's none your business what we do. We need to tell the International Criminal Court that. None your business what we do. We need to tell the UN that. In fact, I'm for revoking everything about the UN, kicking them off our soil, retaking that property. I am sick to death of the UN. They're nothing but a bunch of America haters. I can't stand that entity. They get nothing done, and all they take money and they try to hurt America. I can't stand those folks. Get them out of America. It's UN soil because they sit there. Well, we can kick you out. We can absolutely kick you out. Just a bunch of ridiculousness. I want to see the wins for Americans. We're not against the world. In fact, we have shown that. We're for helping people, feeding people, natural disasters. We try to help people, and I think we should try to help. But at the same time, we can't tear down what we have here. I mean, we've got major problems in our country. We got cities falling apart. We got education system that needs to be corrected. We've got a sexual deviancy problem in our country that is off the scale. Our prisons are overcrowded. There's not enough guards to watch them. Nobody wants the freaking job. They're going to have to build more prisons. We got a huge drug addiction problem here. If I get the words out in our country, and Lord knows my own son's been caught up into that. And I talked to person after person who has every family's affected by the drugs that are pouring into our country, made here, poured in, whatever. And it affects you have rapes and robberies and murders, and it goes on and on. We need clean cities. There are some that are pretty clean. There are some that are just hellholes. And if you live in a place that looks like a hellhole, you just stop caring. And we got to get the bad people out and let the good people be able to live the life that is fulfilled by the American freaking dream. And that is the promise that we gave people. That's what this country is supposed to offer if you're willing to work for it. Not the gimme crowd, not the feel my hands full just because I'm sorry and I won't do anything. People that will actually get out, work hard, and do stuff, and get out of the way and let these people within the rules have business and be able to be successful in that. It is absolutely ridiculous. I don't care what the rest of the world does. If their model works for them, I'm not against them. If their model works for them, go for it. I was just listening here recently. The rock group. Oh, who are they? I'm trying to think of which one it was. Uh, oh my goodness, I can't remember if it was Toto or who it was. Anyway, they were reforming. They were having this big get together. They were going to play all their hits and all that. And one of the members couldn't make it. He's a Canadian, and he had a doctor's visit. Um, he had a doctor's visit that he could not miss. If he missed that doctor's visit, he might not get that back, or it might be months or even a couple of years. And so he had to miss the event. And that's kind of how that works. You got to be there when it says, like in America, sometimes we just can't make it. Okay, reschedule. That's not the way it works there. You make it when you're supposed to, or you have a bunch of problems. Hey, Professor, said I have a question. I do see you up there. I'm running Podbean, Rumble, and a few other out. I do see that. You're welcome to pop the question. Thanks for being here. Lord bless you. I'm fired up. I just want to go down these promises, and I want to get through some more of them this week. But absolutely pop your question. I'll be glad to look at it. President Trump secured an agreement with NATO member nations to raise their defense spending to 5% of their GDP, a remarkable foreign policy feat long thought impossible, and they did just meet to agree to that. So, because the promise was that he would insist that every NATO nation must spend at least 3%. But some of them were down like 1.9%. England has stepped up. I think Germany. There's a couple of others. Poland. I think it was Poland was already pretty close to the 5. I don't know that anybody was at 5, but I think Poland was the closest, if I remember right. And I'm going by memory. If I'm wrong, correct me. But I think they were well over 4% of GDP. Poland's been in a big military build campaign. I'm just hoping that the Russia hater crowd out there doesn't get them into war with Russia. But there is a huge section of Polish politics, a good half is what I'm told, that would love to pick a fight with Russia. I hope that they don't do that. There's a lot of old hatreds over there. I get that. But this did happen. New weaponry supposedly is being paid by NATO for Ukraine. Promise made to reduce costs for both manufacturers and consumers. I'll remove 10 old regulations for every new regulations. Made that promise on 10/10/24. Promise kept. From the Washington Examiner, Trump killing federal regulations at a 10-to-1 rate tops first term's 4-to-1 cut. So in his first term, he was 4-to-1 cutting. They're saying he's doing 10-to-1. And again, regulations are important to have in some cases, depending on what it is. What we don't want is regulations that cripples industry. We certainly want regulations because there's a lot of people out there that do bad things, and they will, harm the environment, destroy our waterways. They're sorry. I mean, we've had some Superfund sites in our area as well, and people that left drums out in the woods rusting with chemicals in them. And we had to do a lot of cleanup along one of our creeks and take out a lot of soil and, store it in areas forever, basically, because it was just so contaminated. So we're not talking about those kind of regulations, but it is so very hard to run a business. There's so many regulations that you have to meet. And every year you go, they would make more. So it's kind of like, not how do I stay compliant, because it's almost impossible. I'll give you an example of just how this can be. We had a facility in California, and it got so expensive to do business there, we had to shut it down. I think we release it out or to another company. We're still on the property, but we're leasing it to another company. We're making money off the property, and they're getting, they're not having to build a place. So, but before we shut it down, the California investigators or regulators or whatever they are were out there every month. And one day they were out there, and the place looked great. They couldn't really find anything, but they're on the truck pad, and the truck was backed into the receiving dock. And the guy asked, he said, "What's that? What's that discoloration on the concrete pad right there?" And the guy says, "Well, we offer our drivers are all long haul drivers. They come in and get it. They're going to points all over the country. They refill their coffee cup here. We keep fresh coffee for them 24/7." He said, "Well, what's that?" He said, "Well, when they get out of the truck, a lot of times they'll just dump their old coffee out on the pad." Well, he said, "That's a $1,500 fine. And every time I come by here, if I see that discolor like that, it's another $1,500 fine." Now, we're not talking about a huge spot. It's just a little spot. So they had to pay a guy with a pressure washer to come out and pressure wash that every month to make sure that they stay clean. Because it's almost impossible to keep people from. I mean, how many times do you dump fluids out of your car, into the cup so you can throw it away or whatever? We all have done that. I think probably most people. If you haven't, God bless you, because I certainly have. But that's the level that California regulation takes us. So, yes, you can ask the question. I'm on a different stream as well, my friend. That's why I can't take it, because it wouldn't feed back in and nobody would hear you. If I was doing a Podbean only, I'd be more than happy to take it. I'm sorry. I'm actually doing a dual. I'm going out on 3 video, or well, actually more than that, probably about 7 video channels, and I have the MP3 through Podbean. So they're not connected. And if I do that, nobody would hear you. So I don't. If I have a co-host from another location, I don't go live Podbean. We'll just load the show up, because it gets to be difficult to do all this together. And we try to go out to several things. But if you can certainly put it in, I'll look at it. Thank you for being here, by the way. We appreciate you. God bless you again, as I said. And for all of you listening tonight, and I see you from many different ones, from YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble. Obviously, we're doing a Rumble X or wherever it's at. Thank you, all of you, and I hope you get something valuable out of the show. And we're just reading directly from the White House website, because I wanted to cover this tonight and look forward a little bit. And I'm going to take a break in just a minute. In the second hour, I don't know if I'll go the full hour. I may. If I do, I want to look into what kind of next. I'm going to come back next week and look at more of these. But I want to kind of look forward a little bit too tonight, as we look at the 200 days. That's a time to look back, but it's also a time to look forward. And just some things that maybe you'd like to see. Please, if you're able to, and I've got to pull some chats up. I probably had some. And if you've chatted, I'm not ignoring you. I've actually can't see it right now, but I will. Let me get this a quick break, and if you'll stay with me on the other side of the break, I'll look at all those things. Thank you for being here on a Sunday night as we start a new week. Let's get one more in. He says, on January 19th, 2025, I will defend religious liberty. I will defend religious liberty. This was a big one, and there's a lot. I know the hatred is out there for it. The Trump administration, this was a recent one, directed all federal agencies to protect religious expression in the workplace. Now, I think they were very clear about this. I think they handled it in the right way. This covers the federal workplace, which we know there's a lot of them. Not as many as there was, but there's a lot of federal workers. But it seemed as though everything that was deviant could be talked about or done, but there were some that could not talk about their faith. It was frowned upon. You couldn't do it. You'd be in trouble. Whatever. Wrote up. This is stated that you can't be harassed. Somebody can't, try to convert you, but it is okay. We've always heard in the workplace, don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion. I mean, I've heard that so often, and it's never been true. There's always people that I've talked politics with at work. There's always been people that I talk about my faith with. I just never went out and tried to make people listen to me. If somebody came and asked me a question, hey, David, I got a question about the Bible. Sure, what you got? So, or if I shared something, I would say, well, that would get into an area maybe that, I don't want to get, do something here you'd feel like I've, offended you or whatever, because it is the workplace. And they'd say, no, I give you permission. I want to hear what you had to say. Then I would take that and say, okay, here's what it was. And they would say, oh, I'm glad you shared that with me. Mostly people I work, I never found anybody that would put you down for it, even if they didn't believe. They would be supportive of it. But, there are companies where it's a little more tedious. There's a lot of tension there, and there are people that would complain. I get that. I'm glad the president put into. Uh, I'm glad that he put into this in the workplace, in the federal workplace, because uh, people need to be able to talk about those things. Your workplace is not a place where you don't leave your faith in the car when you come in. You don't leave your beliefs, your political beliefs in the car when you come in. We just can't use the workplace as a place to argue and bicker and debate, but we can make, have conversation, surely. And I'm glad that he did that. And I don't know how long that'll stay in place. If a liberal gets in, I'm sure that's one of the first things they'll attack to destroy. And it's a shame because our country is founded on these principles. We should be able to have a conversation, just like we would about the weather, sports, or anything else. If you ask somebody something and they give you an answer, if they say, I don't want to talk about it, you respect that. It's ridiculous that we can't do that. For all the freedoms we have in America, we have these things that have been built in to beat us over the head and tell us that we can't do these things. That's ridiculous. Hey, I'm going to catch up on chats and I have a question. Let me run a quick commercial here very quickly, and let's see what I got loaded in. I'm still loading some things into this, but I may just play part of a song because I don't have. Well, I think I've got one. Let me see if I've got this one. Let me see if this one will work. Hey, Southern Fried fans and your Cornbread Nation. Well, yeah, that's right. We're going to advertise for Mammoth Nation. To all proud Americans, we call attention to these thoughts. Are you tired of woke corporations that don't align with your values? I know we are. Look no further than Mammoth Nation, the ultimate destination for patriots like you and me, and Rob and everybody else, including old crazy Uncle Jeb, who believe in putting America first. Here at the Southern Fried Podcast, we're proud to partner with Mammoth Nation because they share our unwavering commitment to faith, family, and yes, freedom. Just like us, Mammoth Nation believes in the power of the American spirit and the importance of preserving our great nation's heritage. When you join Mammoth Nation, you're not just getting access to amazing discounts on products and services, you're becoming a part of a community that stands against the forces trying to tear our country apart. From supporting veterans and first responders to promoting Christian values, Mammoth Nation is the go-to platform for conservatives who want to make their voices heard. So what are you waiting for? Join the Mammoth Nation movement today and start enjoying exclusive deals from businesses that share your America First values. Together, we can make America great again, one purchase at a time. Don't miss out on this opportunity to support a company that truly cares about our nation's future. Sign up for Mammoth Nation now and experience the difference of a community that puts America first. Use that QR code on the screen, folks, and that will take you right to the website where we also will be helped in your support of these values. We are customers of this great American company. Rob is a monthly supporter, and I am a lifetime member of Mammoth Nation. We're so appreciative of companies like this. Please be a supporter, not just for us, but for America. These companies need our support. We're patriots. Stand together with patriots. Take care, and God bless. Absolutely, Mammoth Nation, and they do a great job. By the way, if you don't, and irregardless of whether you ever use our promo code, QR code, whatever, you really got to get tagged up with these two companies, Mammoth Nation and Patriot Mobile, and I'm going to tell you why. Well, first of all, because of their support of American ideals, America First, Jesus, whatever. But what they do beyond that is pretty freaking amazing. They go every week, and I can tell you that Mammoth Nation does a podcast. And every week in my email, you need to go there and get signed up. They'll have you about 30 to 40, 45 minutes of commentary on the latest things that are going on in the country. And let me tell you, they don't mince words and they don't beat around the bush, and they tell you exactly how they feel. Mammoth Nation does the same thing. And I love our partnership with them. We don't. I make up some ads. I do all the ads here for the podcast. They make up their stuff and send it to us. We don't have to do it. They take care of us. And these ads they're just kick butt. I love these two companies. And they don't care. They let it fly. and I love those folks absolutely. Hey, don't forget, talking about these different shows we do, and I am known as Dave in the AM, and I'm also known as the Cornbread Man. It's kind of got tagged as the Cornbread Man by another podcast, and it really stuck. And I've been Dave in the AM for a while, but just don't forget if you are up early, and I'm gonna be up early in the morning. I try to. Some days I may have work issues, but I get up early. Me and Rob do a morning show, the SFP morning show at 6 to 7. Then I take the kids to school and go to work. But at 5 a.m. or slightly thereafter, if I'm running a minute or two late making coffee, I do what's known as the Cornbread Man Morning Show. And it's usually about a 35 minute, really hits you first in the morning. So I'll be in the studio, yes, in the morning with the Cornbread Man radio show. But it's also be going out on video too. So just like right now, I'm on Podbean, and I left my friend hanging with no music. When I went there to the ad, I apologize to him. But I do both now, so it's become a thing. So I'm going out just like I am, but I'm doing that at 5 a.m. So if you're up at that time, join with us. It's meant to hit fast and hard, and just get your first cup of coffee, and then I take a short break, flip everything over, and we go live with the SFP, which is a 1 hour show. That's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Now we go live, as I said, on Podbean for the MP3 side, but on for the video side, it's Facebook, YouTube. As long as they'll have us, we may get kicked off tomorrow. Who knows? But Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, X, and locals, and our biggest one, we're home base is Rumble. So Rumble is our home base for all those things. We do that live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with the co-host. On Tuesdays, it's just the Cornbread Nation morning show. I usually do it at 6 or 5:30. Sometimes I split the difference, come in at 5:30. We just combine the shows because I'm by myself. And then on Thursday, I do the Patriot Morning Show. Thursday morning is the Patriot Morning Show. And don't forget the Cornbread Nation Radio, and we got to get links up in here for that so you can see that. But it's on all of our social media. We're live 24. I mean, not live, but we're programming is there 24/7. And soon we're going to start tying in and go live there. So we just got that up. Not even a week yet. Tomorrow morning will be a week, and we've still got things to work out. So we had a great a question come in, and I do see Broski. I see your stuff, and I wasn't seeing chats. I was on a platform here, and I just went. But let me get Podbean's question first from Professor Gerdes. I hope I said that right. Gerdes. Gerdes. Tell me if I got it close. His question was, will Trump put Putin in his place? Question mark. It seems that Putin has been just lying, and stringing him along. Truth? Like Curtis. Okay, Curtis, I got you. I don't want Trump to look weak. I'm afraid he does. What do you think? Lifelong Republican. My cat's name is Reagan. I love that. We seem to have forgotten that through strength, part of peace through strength. Yes. I would agree with everything that you said. And this has been my dilemma. I feel what you're saying about looking weak. The only problem I've had with President Trump in this second term, except for some of his administration, I've had a big problem with some of them. But the main problem I've had with him is he comes out and he makes bold statements to someone like a Putin or Zelensky or whoever, and he makes it sound like Judgment Day. Boom, you're going to do it. And it doesn't happen. So you got to be strong with them. They don't respect that, but nobody wants World War III either. So I think he's approached this in a pretty good way. And he can't, to a degree, he can't make China do anything, but I think he's got some leverage with China. He absolutely just showed that he has leverage with India. And he said, if you're going to buy their oil, which is really that's where Putin has never hurt. They made money. Their economy got better. They have figured out how to get other things through the black market and whatever. But they actually made money because of the buying of the oil by Arabs, India, China. Yes. If he could impact that just a little bit to the point that it really started hurting their economy. Hey, wars are expensive. This guy's got to be spending a lot of money on this war. And he could, it looks as though, we got a framework for it. He may back out. Sources are saying, you've seen them too. Putin says, I want the Donbass. If you can get me the Donbass and have the Ukrainians pull out of those areas that they still control, war's done. It's over. I have read that little dictator, Zelensky, has, in principle, agreed with that. There's a lot of other issues to be figured out, prisoners of war, there's some stuff. But if that is what's going to happen, I think they can get it done. Nobody likes that he gave up, nobody likes what Russia did. But I do think they can get there. I was doubtful before I heard this news. But I wonder I'm surprised that Putin didn't say, I want Zelensky gone. I don't think there's a problem if he does say that, though. I think the nations that are behind Ukraine will say, you got to go, dude. We're done. And if we pull the plug, he's losing anyway. So I think it's a great question. I want him to look tough. And I think that there has to be consequences. And not everybody can be a Ronald Reagan. I mean, he faced them down. And they said he was crazy, had early Alzheimer's, whatever it was. He put the fear of God in them people, and they backed off. Donald Trump's a little different character. He comes out a little different way. But he's got to read that room properly, and he's pretty good at that. And in this meeting, he's got to know how to play that game. And it is a game, but it is a game with geopolitical World War III possibilities. And he's got to be able to get what he gets. And when he can get enough that a deal can be done, he turns to Zelensky and says, do it. Just do it. Today. And that's I think we got a framework for it. If not, I'm afraid this thing is going to push on. And if he does want the whole thing, as you're saying, Curtis, I think we got problems. But he says Trump 2.0 seems to be different than Trump 1.0. I don't want him looking weak. I see Putin raising his stature on the world stage, and Trump will walk away with nothing. That is a possibility here. This is a huge, huge meeting, and it is going to set the course for not only the rest of President Trump's term. It could carry on into the next administration, and that could have effects on the election. Yes, consequences. Says I don't see that. Yeah, we have a problem. When President Trump talked tough the first time, he backed out very quickly. And I think that is a problem. Broski says it doesn't sound like Zelensky will budge on giving Russia some territory. If he's removed, he's not going to be the person making the sense or the deal. The EU feels left out too. We don't care. I'm just saying USA. USA didn't become the best country this side of heaven by wanting to be like Europe. Amen to that. Europe is socialist. You have to earn it in our country. Amen to that. Poland was the only country other than the U.S. over 2%. Yes, and they've spent a lot. I think theirs was more than ours. Of course, that's a different GDP number, right? But still, though, spending that percentage of it, I get it. Trump is going to make deals with Putin, rare earth access, shipping lane access, etc. I wouldn't disagree with that. Deals to benefit the U.S. I wouldn't disagree with that. It plays into the energy. So we'll see. And we will see, what does happen out of this, because this is a huge meeting. And listen, this meeting has the potential to be looked at in history as 1,000 years from now. What do they see when they look back? Do they see a president who caved? Did he give everything that Putin wanted? Did he hold him accountable for anything? Did he put Zelensky in his place and tell him, look, enough's enough? And does President Trump come shining out of this? And it just catapults him in through the midterms. He wins big at the midterms. He has a great finish to his administration and puts another conservative president in the White House. Well, that's what we want, and that's what we got to see. Can it happen? Or could it go the other way? Does he look weak? Does he get spanked on this deal? And does he lose prominence on the world stage? That could happen too. You see, he's still having to defend his foreign policy plans. He come in talking a big game. He always said, if I were president, that war would have never happened. If I were president, the October 7th wouldn't have happened. Well, okay, I get that. But now you're elected, and you can't really, I don't want to hear that anymore. I've said this about every administration. I really don't want to hear that anymore about if you were there. Well, you weren't there. You accepted it when you accepted the new as the new commander in chief. You accepted all the problems, everything. You didn't take the presidency and say, "Well, we're not going to pick up these. That was their problem." No, you take it all. So really, this far in, I really don't want to hear that anymore. We know what Biden was. We know what that administration was. Trump has to go forward and say, "Okay, I'm okay with him saying I inherited this. I got no problem with that." But what he should say is, "I inherited this, and this is what I've done, and this is what I'm doing." It's got to be clear. It's got to be direct, and you got to win. If you don't win, he's going to look weak, and it won't go well for him on foreign diplomacy. And and Putin is playing him. There's no doubt, and I think the president is wised up to that. He thought he had deals in place 4 different times. 4 times he believes that him and Putin had a deal, and Putin spanked him every single time. So there's a lot riding on this. Professor says there's a number of NATO countries over 2% now. Yes, because of the agreement, and Trump deserves credit. He does. Putin may deserve more credit for that 5% target. Eastern Europe is bracing for a Russian invasion. They are, and that's why this is important to check him now and to let it be known to don't do it again. Pull out, get your people out. Let's have a peace posture, not a war posture. But this could be on the very beginnings, of the very early stages of the world at war. It has the possibility. People don't like to talk about it, but it has the possibility. Europe, if he moved past Ukraine, or if he took all of Ukraine, then it would be war would be imminent, because there's no way Poland or some of the other countries are going to let Russia sit on their border without saying something about it and doing something about it, and that's going to pull in all of the NATO, and it will pull in the United States as well. We got to hope that doesn't happen. You're welcome, and and I want to that quote there. It does feel like 1938. I want to go back, and I've heard that before, and I'm going to tell you where I heard that at. Where I heard that at, if you'll go back before 9/11, this is interesting. When you go back before 9/11, it was pretty close to 9/11. I was watching the world stage pretty hard. I wasn't doing a podcast at the time. I was just doing a lot of study. I was everything to get my hands on. And part of that, I was looking at a supposed peace conference that happened in Durban, South Africa. That was not long before that. That peace conference was not a peace conference. It was a hate Israel, hate America gathering. All the people that gathered there basically were wearing, I'm not saying literally, but they were wearing shirts and hats that said, kill the Jews, kill the Americans. There was a Holocaust survivor who was scheduled to speak at this peace meeting. And when he got up on the stage, the Arabs and all the countries shouted him down. I think they even throw things up on the stage. And with tears in his eyes, that's exactly what he said, my friend. He said it sounds just like 1938 all over again. And within just a short amount of time, 9/11 occurred. After that event, I went to my pastor. I've told this story before. I went to my pastor. I said, something bad's fixing to happen. He said, how do you know? I said, I can't explain it, but it's big and it's bad. The world is ready to strike. I thought it was Israel, and they did try to hit Israel. A twin tower attack, just like they did at the United States, but Israel caught it. we didn't, or we encouraged it. Some people say we put it on. I'm just saying, I heard the man, that was his quote. It's like 1938 all over again. And so there you go. Brodsky says that Putin isn't looking to conquer Europe. I don't think he's looking to conquer Europe, but he is looking to get all the territory back into the motherland that was there before. He sees it as like a mission of his to get all the land back that was there before, to get all that back. So we will see. But you're welcome. I'm glad to answer the question. I always bring them. Give us a follow. If you want to email us, southernfriedpodcast at yahoo.com, southernfriedpodcast at yahoo.com. I don't have any banners running. I probably should. But I was at church. I got back kind of late. I said, I'm going to go online because I usually do my news desk on Sunday night. And I wanted to get in tonight and talk about this. So this segue into the next 200 days, we're talking about Russia, and we're talking about Russia-Ukraine in this deal. But there are other things we want to see him accomplish in the next 100 days. That's one of them. The peace agreement, somehow a cessation of hostilities between Ukraine and Russia. That's one. Number two, what the heck is going to happen in Gaza? Because I don't really like what I'm hearing there, and it's an ugly freaking mess. And it does affect America because the president has said, he even offered to be the real estate person. We'll take care of the real estate, friends. I don't want that. There was rumors out there that they offered to move the Gaza, I can't call them citizens. I mean, they don't have a country. I mean, how can you be a citizen of something you don't have a country? But anyway, I know some people that come from the old Kurdish land. And, that got, due to war, that all got taken over by Syria, Turkey, Iraq, I think one or two other countries. So 40 million people don't have their country. And I was talking to a guy from there, a nice young man. And he said, he don't speak hardly any English, but he was showing me a video. And he was showing me he said, my country, no more. He said, but I'm Kurdistan. I'm a Kurdistan. And, he's a Kurd. But he lived in Iraq, northern Iraq, I think it was. And they just hardworking, nice young man. His girlfriend lives here, and he's been able to get it. He has family here. He's been able to get in the country on a work situation, and he's come to work. It took about 2 or 3 months to get his work situation straightened out legally with the country, and he's come to work there. Nice young man. But it reminded me of that. These people don't have, they don't have the country. And Brodsky says Israel is saying it will take over 6 months to capture Gaza City. Well, I don't doubt it because there's thousands of tunnels. They're entrenched there. They're going to have to go block by block, street by street, empty the buildings out, make sure there's nobody there, and somehow secure it and keep moving people out. I mean, Hamas has got all this time to set traps, fortifications, whatever, to try to slow them down. So it's going to be ugly. Now, yesterday, I think it was, the Palestinian Authority, the PA, the former ruling party in Gaza, they're in the West Bank, obviously, Mahmoud Abbas, has said they're going to declare a Palestinian state. Well, that don't mean jack. All these people doing it. England, whoever has said that, it doesn't mean jack. That does not mean jack that they say that. It just sounds, it's a good soundbite. We're declaring the right to exist of the Palestinian state. Okay, you've said it. It means nothing until all this is settled. And they could have had their own state. They rejected that state. They didn't want the state. They wanted all the land. And so they forever have beat the drums about UN Resolution 242, and I think it's 138 or something. I know 242. I've heard that forever about this, and they constantly get up and scream in the microphone about that. They've been really quiet. This is the first time the PA has really got some world press. They got jealous. They weren't in the press, so they had to get out and say something to look strong to their people. They said, we're going to declare a Palestinian state. Of course, they would like to have the area back. They got run out with their tails, about blown off because Hamas come in there and just whooped their tails. They got totally punked out by Hamas when they came into the Gaza Strip. But I don't know. This is the first time in my lifetime since Israel's been a nation that I think it is a tinderbox on a scale we've never seen before. The only thing that I think is the saving grace right now is that these enemies know that the United States is backing the play. Sounds like one of those old West things, right? You know, the old people are going to take on this gunfighter, and then they realize that another gunfighter's backing that gunfighter. Whoa, I didn't know you was involved. Well, they know America's involved. And they don't like it, and they'd like to do something about it, but what do? Because the same bombs that fell on Iran can fall on them. And they know that. That's peace through strength right there, baby. They know what could happen. And so these nations are going to be very careful how they approach this. Oh, they'll bellow. They'll make all kind of threats. But actions, they will be very careful about that because they won't want to see that happen. You see, in normal times, they would look at America and they would go, well, they're not going to do nothing. Even if they did something, they would announce it and they would bomb some burned out air base or something. Well, now they're not so sure about that. So they've been keeping their mouths shut and I won't say playing ball, but they're not being as vocal as they usually are. It's been relatively quiet, to be honest. Think about it. Hezbollah hasn't said much that we've heard about. We haven't heard much from the Muslim Brotherhood. You know, I hadn't heard much from these folks. You know, it's really quiet. It's eerie quiet, to be honest with you. I expect a lot more. Oh, we've heard the condemnations, but it's been really quiet. We don't see the million-man marches and whatever else. It's really quiet. That is interesting right now. But yeah, Broski, I think it'll take a little while. They've got about 25% of the country still to go. This is a big move by Bibi. If he's like Trump, decisions he makes right now will decide his future. And so will it for the president. Decisions that are made right now will decide what history records about these two men 1,000 years from now. I mean, I think this is going to be a highlight. This is this big. Israel's not together totally on this. The defense ministers have been against it. People in his own cabinet are not happy with Bibi about this decision. Some are saying they might pull out and let the elections go forward. This is big. And they don't want to see the mass scale of death. And I always say when the body bags start coming home, that's when things get chippy. You can talk a big game until the dead bodies start coming back in on the flag draped coffins. You know, that's when people get upset. When their sons and daughters are dying by the droves. That's when politically that gets to be a hot potato that nobody wants to have their hands on. Because it is so hot and nobody wants to be a part of that. And so I certainly see that part of it. And Putin has weathered this. His people support him. There's a lot of people that don't. I've got my friend that came in on Podbean, matter of fact, and he said, blank Putin. I want to settle that war. But there are many who do. By the way, he's a security guard. It'd be great if he was in here tonight. He usually comes in early in the morning. But, and I know it's a big time difference. But we'll see what happens. So, and then he's got China. Is he able to make a deal with China? Can we get the tariff situation straightened out that's agreeable for all? And what happens with Taiwan? These are the hard situations that a president has to deal with. And this is not even including those pirates that are coming after shipping in the Middle East. We got the Houthis. We got others that are caught up into that. He did get the agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So that's big. And they're going to name that road after him. I thought that was pretty cool. So where do we go from here? Well, this week is the big week. Let's see what happens. I would be interested to know what I mean, I'm going to be all ears watching this week because this is must see TV. Can the president meet with Putin and get a deal? If he does this, that's huge. If he doesn't, I think it spells doom and gloom for President Trump's foreign policy involving that region. As much pressure as he's putting on Putin right now, Putin will be basically telling him, I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and you're not going to stop me. Now, what are you going to do? As the commercial says, what's in your pocket? Is the president laying all the cards on the table? Or is he holding back a couple of aces? Does he have a couple? He's a person that likes to be prepared. But Putin plays the same kind of game. This is a gigantic chess match. And we got two world powers faced off. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you, Zelensky. This should not be happening. It should not be happening. But here we are. And so it is happening. And what can the president do? I don't know. It's a big mess, right? It's going to be a week and a half of really seeing where we're at and seeing what the president seems to land on his feet every time. I'll give him credit. But could this be the one that eludes him? Because he's been frustrated by it. And he's got the Joint Chiefs telling him stuff. He's got the CIA, all these different entities and national intelligence officers, and all these people are giving him a lot of information every day. The president has to make some kind of a decision. And I would say over what's going on in those two areas, he has spent a lot of time in the middle of the night talking to some people about this and pacing the halls. Because he knows he doesn't like war. He doesn't want to go to war. Putin knows this. Can he do what Biden couldn't do? Can he back off Russia? And then what happens to Ukraine? So I do think, whoever said it, I do think you're right in that. I didn't at first, but I've come to believe that Putin does want all of Ukraine. I'm not saying he wants any other country, but I believe he wants to absorb that country back in. They want to put a puppet there who will never go against them. They're more than willing to let them make all kinds of money, live pretty free, all that. But they want to have control there. Who is the leader of that country, and make sure that they're not a threat on their border anymore. And if I, depending on what happens this week, some of those Ukrainian leaders might need to get the Hades out, because if this thing falls apart, they're going to be in a wood chipper in Russia before this thing is over. And I would say you're going to start seeing a collapse of stuff unless countries are willing to put troops on the front line and war starts heating up. They'll eventually roll Ukraine. I think Ukraine's just hanging on, and I think Zelensky knows that, and he don't like it. But if President Trump presents him a peace agreement that gets the Russian troops from attacking him, and all that, I think he would take it right now. He's pretty desperate. I don't think he's got any answers for him either. They're not advancing, folks. They keep retreating. They're losing. That's called losing. When you're being ran backwards deeper in your country and you're having to get land, it doesn't matter how slow that progress is. If Ukraine doesn't have wins, they're losing. And they are losing, slowly but surely. It is a slow death. But the Russians are ever so slowly just bombing the crap out of them with artillery shells, missile, drones, whatever. Read the BBC article that just came out this past week about the drone damage to the psyche of the Ukrainian troops. It is really causing some mass problems on their front lines. The drones are always in the air, always. And it is really messing up. It's a new war um, the PTSD. It's a new kind. And this is kind here when soldiers come back home, they're snapping not because of loud noises, but because of little motors that turn on in like your computer, washing machines, or whatever. They hear that click and that sound, and they snap. It's having major damage on the Ukrainian psychological side, and some of them can't stand it anymore. They run out into open areas, and the drones find them and hurt them or kill them. It's bad, and the Russians definitely have a drone advantage. Absolutely have a drone advantage. The amount they can send, the different types, the fiber optic connected drones. The Ukrainians are behind. Russia has been able to stay pretty up to date on that. They're ahead of the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have the technology. They're trying to catch up. It's going to take too long. So, and they're running out of manpower. I mean, they're just running out of the available resources to send men in. The men are they can't be cycled out. These people are doing extended duties to keep the front lines somewhat intact. If Russia was to do a major offensive in another part of the country right now, Ukraine couldn't meet it. I don't believe it. I don't think they could meet it. I don't think they could stop it. Putin knows that. I've always said I thought his prize was east of the Dnieper River. I always said that because they wanted that control of that land bridge all the way to Crimea. But if he turns and he starts going towards Kiev or Western Ukraine, better watch out because war is getting ready to heat up on a national scale. That's what I believe. And we'll see what happens. We need a president that knows how to be a statesman, that knows how to be tough, but also has to know his opponent inside and out and know how not to go too far, but still accomplish the mission of what he needs to accomplish. All of us as Americans, we're riding on this. It affects us. It absolutely does. And we will see what happens. I'm Dave the AM. I'm the Cornbread Man. We're going to sign off. Thank you for all being here. God bless you. Don't forget the programming in the morning. We're going to get off of here, get some rest, and we appreciate your support of everything. We'll meet you tomorrow. Be a lot of programs tomorrow night, as Mama said. I'll be doing a MAGA report. We got 2 live shows in the morning. We've got racing show coming up Tuesday. Wow, what a race today. What about Connor Zilic? Faceplant at Xfinity. Wow. Now, I've never seen that before. There was a race car driver killed, I think, this weekend in some other category. I saw the video on it earlier, trying to get information. Preseason football kicked off this weekend. Yay. Yay. I'm excited about that. It's getting closer to college football and NFL regular season. If you would like in our SFP fantasy league for pros, let us know. We have 5 teams open. You'll be able to run it from your computer. You'll see it in real time. We'll tell you what the cost is. It's not expensive. It's just we have to pay for the CBS site. I've got part of the money up here in the studio ready to go. And Ben Cook's getting ready to fix this thing up and get going forward. Other shows this week, don't forget Rob's Noontime Show with Miss Elizabeth, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm hoping to debut 1, if not 2 shows this week that are new. We're hoping to get those off the ground and get them going. It's going to be a busy, busy week. We got a lot going on, as always, and we're excited about it. We're not crying about it. We're excited about it. SFP on the march. Get your SFP coffees. Visit the merch shop. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile. Support Mammoth Nation. W Energy Drinks. Our new one, Payworld. Got a small business. They're a great company to do business with to help in your financial needs for taking care of invoices, chargebacks, all that stuff. They'll take care of that for you. A lot of companies they're not a bank. They need companies like Payworld to do their business. And I've seen their starter program is very cheap. I've seen that. I've seen the cost on it. So appreciate all of that. And again, Cornbread Nation Radio. So excited about that. All right, take care. Good night. God bless. We'll go out with some music. We'll try something a little heavier. I came in with a national the Star Spangled Banner, and I like that tune. But let's go with something just a little bit. Let's try. This is a tune that I don't know if I've played for you. Me and my son, we go off on a play of words, and it's off of a radio station that used to do that here in America, especially in the South and out West. And the caller would say, "Just how big a boy are you?" It was all made up, but boy, would people get mad. Just how big a boy are you? That's what the president's going to find out this week. Just how big a boy are you, Putin? Putin's going to find that out about the president. These are two top A warrior personalities clashing. It's like two comets coming together. Who wins out? Don't know. Just how big a boy are you? We'll see you soon.
Dirt on your hands, fight in your eyes, scars on your plans. Who you gonna be when the lights all fade? When the stage is gone, when the debts ain't paid. Just how big a boy are you when the chips fall, when the fish fly? Just how big a boy are you when the truth comes, when the lies die? Big talk ain't the weight you carry. Broke down truck in a no-name town, dust on your tongue, rain won't come down. What's the measure of a man with nothing to show? When the wind cuts deep, when the seeds don't grow. Just how big a boy are you when the walls crack, when the earth shakes? How big a boy are you when your pride bends, when your heart breaks? Big talk don't mean a thing at all. You can puff your chest, you can raise your chin, but the mirror don't care about the fire within. How far will you go? How much will you lose when it's blood for blood and you gotta choose? Just how big a boy